Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Books You Read and the People You Meet podcast, the show where we bring you the books and people who will change your business, change your mind, and change your life. Now, look, we have maybe one of the most interesting and unique guests that we've ever had on this show. I'm going to spoiler alert right out of the gate here. Our guest today has literally sold almost all of his possessions and has decided to live in an RV, traveling the country, and recording it and putting his life out to us. We're going to try and learn some things from him today about his story, about his life, that maybe we can apply to our own lives and to our businesses as well. So let me welcome our special guest today from the RV Life and Van Life YouTube and Burley Wood, Eric Hobaugh. Eric, welcome to the show.
Hey man, thanks for having me. And it's Chasing the Sun RV Life, Van Life. That's my handle on YouTube. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and we will, before the show is out, we will repeat that so we know exactly where to find you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, so look, I just said it. You sold literally everything. You're living in an RV, but just give us that big picture overview of it, exactly what it is you're doing with your life.
Um, what a large question. I'll try to whittle it down in bite-sized chunks. I, like you said, I've sold everything. It's my little pup and I, Wolfie. We live, travel, and make a living out of our RV. I think that the best way to explain it is that if you took a food truck, which I had, and you take that food truck and you take it around and you sell your food, that's what I do with Burlywood. I make things out of metal and wood. I travel to different cities. I do have help in some of these cities to help sell my things. And Wilmington is a home base. Louisville is a home base. Central Illinois is a home base. And I have done that for the past couple of years, off and on, mostly on. I live on $500 a month. And I've started my YouTube channel. I am so excited to bring that message to people that if you get up every day and hate your life, you do not have to.
Mm. Yeah.
I didn't come to this decision in a minute. It's basically taken my whole life to sort of set my feet and say, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to live on less. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to get up every day and go, I cannot wait to get up and see what my life has for me today. And I just want to say one thing really quickly. A lot of the questions that I get are, did you just wake up and you decided to get a car and live in it and then travel? No, my experience has been that when I was 3 years old, my dad was in the service in Fort Rucker, Dothan, Alabama. And my three siblings and I and my mom and dad would pile into this van. In 1972, we would drive for an hour and a half and go to Panama City, and we would fish. And it was some of the greatest moments, recollections that I have. My mom and dad chain smoking. We would be fishing. We would get a couple of hundred pounds of meat. That's how we lived. That's how we sustained ourselves. That was the first part of my van journey. The second part of my van journey was when I was 16. I was 15 when I left. I moved in with my sister. My sister moved out. And so I was left to fend for myself, which was amazing. And I wouldn't give up that part of my life for anything. But I recently bought a van from my buddy in Champaign, Illinois in 1985. And the landlord found out that I was a 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid living alone. I was paying the rent, but he was like, no, you can't do that. We were having too much fun. No adults in the room. And so he basically said, sorry, bro, you're out. So he kicked me out, and I was very disappointed, very upset. But I thought, geez, I do have the van. And so literally before Chris Farley said, I'm living in a van down by the river at 92 or whatever, I was literally living in a van down by the river. I was embarrassed. I mean, I don't know, you're homeless, you're 16. But from that, I was able to work, go to high school, live my life. Wasn't cool, didn't tell anybody where I was, but it sparked something in me, and that along with my dad's van in the early 70s. So when I came to the part of my life when I had to go, what's going on? all the huge changes in my life, which I think we're probably going to talk about in a minute, I came to this decision with lots of experience, and started in the 70s. It kind of got bigger in the 80s. And of course, a couple of years ago, I landed up here. So anyway, that's kind of
Yes.
my van journey.
Yeah, so I wanted to start with kind of the end, you living in the van, and we're certainly going to come back and get some more of those details. And then I want to go back and kind of say, oh, how did we get here? You've told a little bit of that story, but did you say you lived in a van while you were going to high school?
I did. The craziest thing was I was an athlete. People that know me from high school, I've subscribers and friends that they'll go, dude, you went to football practice and you lived in your van. Yeah, man. I mean, what are you going to do? I was in a situation where I didn't feel like I could go back. I love my mom. She was the greatest person in the world. I had issues, my fault, not hers. My stepdad and I didn't get along, and he said, well, you're either going to do this or else. Well, I chose or else. And honestly, if I could go back, I would have stayed there till I was 30, honestly, knowing how the world is. But anyway, yeah, man, I got up and got my books together. I did my studying. I would go to school. Luckily, I only had to go to school for half a day because most of my credits were done. And this was my junior and senior year. And, I would go to school, do my 4 or 5 hours, go to football practice, hit the gym, and then I would, there was a little place in Fithian, Illinois. There's a place in Danville, Illinois. There's a place in Urbana, Illinois. There's a place in Effingham, Illinois. All these little spots that I had picked out, and I was ashamed of it. Now it's a wonderful part of my life. It's a wonderful adventure that I don't think people today can relate to. But let me tell you something. Honestly, I look back on it now with just really fond memories. So yeah.
Yeah, so high school, between high school and today, there's some gap there. Take us through your background. What was your adult life like? What did you do for a living? And take us through that.
Well, I guess my first real job, and I had dozens and dozens. I've had over 125 jobs. I tried to figure it out the other day. I'm master of nothing, jack of one, and I hope that jack is YouTube and helping people. But anyway, the first real job that I had, I went to work for Kinko's. I started out as a part-time coworker, and basically because God loved my ex-wife, she was like, "You have to get a job." Not that I didn't want to work. I would take odd jobs, and I got bored very easily, and so she drove me to Kinko's. No particular reason other than it was close to our apartment in Indianapolis. I put the application in. I got the job. I worked for them. Traveled. We went from Indy to Seattle to all over Knoxville, Nashville, Louisville, all over. And I got promoted. And I was a very young executive. And I didn't sort of care about my career because at the time I was in Nashville. I was trying to get a record deal. I look back with that with a little bit of horror. But my wife and I got pregnant. And from the time that my son was, so we started making Brian, my son. 6 months later, I was an executive because I took that very seriously. And so I did what I felt then and I feel now, which is to take care of your family. Very proud of that. I did that for a long time, but then I started to really, really hate that.
Well, real quick, let me break in. You kind of yada-yada'd over trying to get a music deal. What's the story on that?
Well, I'm like every other 20-year-old guy. In college, I was in several bands. I hope my friend Ben Jenkins, buddy, if you're watching this, taught me how to get up on stage and sing and dance and, mostly write songs. And that was the difference between me and a whole lot of other people. I understood at that age that you really, you couldn't do it without that. And by the time I got to Nashville, I was 26, 27, and there were 17-year-old kids that were like, "Oh, how are you doing, Grandpa?" And they were better looking. They were wonderful singers. They wrote me under the table. So I have really good memories of that. I've got the receipts. I've got the pictures. The Bluebird and me and my friend Ben and his brother and doing all these crazy things. And we played a million different places in the Midwest. And Danville, Illinois, and Urbana, and all the way down to through Louisville and to Nashville. And, you know, I don't regret any of that. That was a good sort of reality check. But it also is kind of a metaphor for what I've always wanted to be, which was something I didn't want to sit at a job, you know, at a desk and be bored and die when I'm 60 of boredom. So yeah, and my son was born in Nashville. That's really cool. We have a special bond for that. And so anyway,
so yeah, brief chasing of a music dream, and then onward to the progression through Kinko's.
Yes, I used to. I almost got fired several times when I got to Nashville. I was a part-time coworker, and I took a job as a delivery driver so I could put my tapes, because it was Music Row, and I would put my tapes and my contact information in every job that I would go to. You know, my goodness, this weird kid, 26-year-old kid, is showing up to some poor secretary at MCA or some other huge. I was like, here you go, something in there special for you. I mean, come on, man. I look back now and go, but anyway, that was my journey. And like I said, we got pregnant. You know, 6 months later, I was an executive. I traveled all over, made a good living, but I got really tired of that. I couldn't be on the road anymore. I was gone all the time. So then in 2002, I started buying businesses, and my background had been printing. So I bought printing companies. I merged printing companies. I you know, had this network of businesses that I bought and created. And as I said, and over the years, I've had 16 businesses. So I've been an entrepreneur and been fairly successful at most of them. I never lost any money, but there were a couple that I didn't make much on. So my corporate, you know, background turned into, you know, trying to build a printing empire. But the problem was, unlike Paul Orfila, the founder of Kinko's, a guy that I know a little bit, was like, you know, in 10 years, we're not going to have printing. And I was like, you're nuts, man. And that's why he's a billionaire. And that's why I live in a van down by the river. And that's really okay. Our journeys are different. And I'm proud of where I am, but he was correct. So then I had a medical thing where 5 years ago, I rushed myself to the ER, and I checked in, and they saw me and didn't ask me questions. They knew that something was really wrong, and they stopped my heart attack. They inserted stents, and that was kind of it. I didn't know what it was going to be, but you know, in a bad marriage, I take full responsibility for that. Bad drinker, bad smoker. Did have a good relationship with my kids. That's the best thing that I've ever done. If I die and they write anything about me, if they say that I was a good dad, then really nothing else matters. But that was kind of it. That was the bottom. I knew I didn't want to be married. I was tired of, which is insane, because I had this conversation with somebody the other day. I had businesses. I had a little bit of money. I had power and freedom. But I walked away from all of that because I wasn't happy. I ended up flipping houses with a really good friend of mine, and even that wasn't enough. And I'd always wanted to move to the ocean. So after my heart, I moved to the ocean, and I didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew that I couldn't get any lower, and that was it. So from there, you know, and I'm leaving out a whole bunch, but we only, you know.
Eric, was it you know, what? It's interesting because what you're describing sounds like you weren't in a bad place from someone on the outside looking in. You know, it sounds like you were married, kids, good job. What was that? What was I know you had the medical issue, but what was the triggering event that says, I'm going to sell everything and pursue this RV life?
It's kind of emotional, but if I'm being 100% honest with you, when I moved to Wilmington, I was working as a plumber, $30 an hour. Again, pretty good gig. I had a boss, but I never saw him. But I just didn't like it. And I'm bored all the time. I can't, so I didn't know what it was, but I knew something needed to change. But my mom, at that time, got really, really sick. So I ended up spending hours and hours and days and weeks, which was a blessing. It's a terrible way to get there, but I always love my mom. Anybody that knows my mom knows that she was the best person that ever lived. She was an amazing Christian. She lived her life. She meant it, man. But when I found out that she was sick, we knew she was probably going to die. She started opening up to me in ways that I didn't really understand how her life was. I knew she had a hard life. I'm not really going to get into my dad, but it was a hard life for my mom. She had 5 kids. We never had any money. Sometimes we were hungry, but mom always made us the best life that she could. But she was filled with regret. 72 years old when I got there. She died the next year. 72 years old. She had regrets about her marriages, about her relationship with God, quite honestly. She felt like she had failed him. She questioned everything, that, sort of her politics, her relationships with kids, the church, everything. And so she was just filled with regret. And she said, you're 50. You stop drinking, you stop smoking, you're in good, you work out all the time, you go to the gym. Maybe you have 20, 30 years left and you're just not happy. And if there's one thing that my mom gave to me at the end of her life was, you are not happy. You can get up every day and go to a job where you make somebody else money, and regretting Monday on Thursday, if you follow my line there, you're going to work every single day and you hate your job so much that you can't even enjoy your weekends. And that's where I was at.
Yeah.
So she sort of said, I don't know what you're going to do, but what you're doing now is happy. Your marriage was whatever, lovely kids, great grandkid, but you got to do something else because it's killing you.
Yeah.
And just as an aside, really quickly, around that time, I started a group on Facebook called Tag Me Peeps, which helps people to live better and get up and move and support and love each other. My mom was very, she didn't move the last 10 years of her life. And I think that had something to do with her frame of mind and her health. But anyway, so that was it. When we had those days long conversations, I appreciated her honesty so much. And I just said, you know what, man, I really am unhappy and I really do not like my job and I'm free and blah, 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 whatever. It wasn't enough. I bought the rig that we're in now, the Betty Lou. I named it after my mom, and I moved into it and said, I want to, and think about this. And my friends who knew me as a business guy who had 16 businesses, who had money and a new house and blah, 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 whatever, are like, are you okay? Because I don't understand what you're doing. Most of them have come around and said, and even my one of my wealthiest friends, God love him, he's the most successful guy I know. As crazy as it is, I think that he wouldn't give up his family for anything, but if he had a different journey, he would be just as happy in this rig doing what I'm doing as he is being sort of a very wealthy, happy, powerful business guy.
Yeah, so let me ask you about that, Eric. So you basically, it was this unhappiness that you were experiencing, your mom kind of just experiencing the regret that she had, and you essentially sounds like decided, I'm not gonna end my life that way. I'm not gonna live the rest of my life that way. I've seen some of your videos. You've got the Tag Me Peeps. I've seen some of your stuff on YouTube. What is it that motivates you now? Where does the happiness come from in what you're doing now?
My favorite thing, my favorite saying that is my saying is that within 45 minutes, and if you could see my view today, I'm at my really good friend's house. I've got a lake view today, but in 45 minutes, I can have everything packed up and ready to go. And if there's a Facebook friend, and I've done it, and I do it all, doing it in 2 weeks, I'm going to go meet somebody new in Mattoon, Illinois. I can get up and go, you know what? I've got money in the rig, or money for gas. My bills are paid. I can get there. I will get there. I can go anywhere at any time and do anything that I want within reason. And to me, that is more powerful than a 4,000 square foot house on the lake and all these other things. My other favorite saying, and I'm not there yet, is I'm going to get up today and every day for the rest of my life, and I'm not going to do anything that I don't want to do. I'm not there yet. That is the most powerful sort of Tony Robbins. Sorry, I'm being Tony Robbins, but I don't even care. How many people can say that they don't do anything in their life that they don't want to? It is a powerful thing. Freedom, being happy. Even though I'm alone without a relationship, I'm the happiest that I've ever been. Again, 2 weeks I'm going to Mattoon, Illinois. I'm going to Texas. I've got a friend in California that we came up in California and used to beat the crap out of each other, getting promotions. Now we're these two old hippies. We're going to get on top of a mountain on a teepee. I meet people all the time. I say, somebody will say, "Hey, I live in Georgia," and I get to do that. I do have to work. I do take side jobs and I hustle my butt off because right now I'm setting up the infrastructure to sell my stuff and to make a living, but I'm almost there, and everything else that I do on top of that. So anyway, it's a powerful aphrodisiac to say, wow, man, I'm doing everything that I want every single day. And now with the YouTube channel, and we've just started, and it's pretty small, but it's getting bigger, and I'm showing people how to do that. And the greatest thing for me is and it's only happened a couple of times, like I said, because it's news, for people to say, man, I wanted to do this for years, and you really can do it for little or nothing. And their life is free as well. And I think, especially with the economy now in 2020, a lot of people are going to don't have a choice. And so you can kind of be scared and cover up and, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Or you can go, woohoo, this is freedom. This is power. This is exactly what I want to do. Yeah. So for whatever it's worth, man, that's it for me.
Yeah. And you can go on Chasing the Sun, RV Life, Van Life on YouTube, and you're going to see videos of there that show kind of Eric's day-to-day life, the things that he's doing, the things that he's trying to teach other people to do. So check that out. Eric, you talked about some of the favorite things that you have about this lifestyle. Certainly add to that if you want, but what are some downsides of living in an RV?
Honestly, what I have tried to do, and I'm changing a little bit, is called boondocking, where I will go and I will take the RV and I will go find free spaces to park and to live. And essentially that's how I'm able to do this for so inexpensively. Excuse me. But this has been a particularly hot summer, and I normally go north, but all of my work and all of my love that I've needed with family has been in the Midwest and the South. If there's a drawback, it's waking up in Savannah, Georgia in the rig with my, it's saying 90 degrees when you wake up. That's pretty hard to take, man. But again, I've got things to do, and then in October, I'm going to work the beet harvest. It's going to be nice and cool up there. And so what I like to do is I should have named it Chasing 70 Degrees instead of Chasing the Sun. If you get that, but yeah. And the other thing is that honestly, it gets a little bit lonely sometimes, but I'm usually so busy hitting the gym or running or fishing or hanging out with Wolfie or I think eventually it's going to take a special person to be able to live my lifestyle, because I won't change my lifestyle, but eventually I would like to include somebody and have a special person in my life. So really those are kind of the only drawbacks. And man, every day there's just too many. I can't say enough about the positives in my life. It's not an easy life, and people ask me, and I always say, hey, if you can camp, if you can go to the bathroom outside, if you can, go without a shower, if you can, you know what I mean? So, but 99% of my life, every single day, I'm sucking the marrow out of it, living and going, yes.
Yeah. You had said earlier that you make and sell things to kind of support your lifestyle. I just again did a little bit of research on you for this. Talk to me about Burlywood. What's the inspiration behind that, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Burlywood, I've been making stuff with my hands for a really long time. And let's just knock the name out right away. I had after I was in business for a couple of years, I put it on Facebook. I kind of wanted to formalize it and put it into a business form. So I had a contest on Facebook, lots of really cool names. My brother, Kenny Sadler, you better be watching this, Kenny. And when I get to Chicago, I still have to make you something. The idea was whoever got to name my business, I would make them something. And I've been trying for 5 years now to make my brother something. But right after my divorce, I moved into this little crappy, moldy, ridiculously awesome old school house, and my neighbor had brought out a not a piece of furniture that you put clothes in. What am I having a hard time? Dresser. Sorry. Brought an old dresser. It was absolutely in really bad shape. Had been painted and sort of beat up and whatever. And I said, "Hey, can I have that?" And she said, "Sure." I took it in. I spent 3 months, something that I've done hundreds of times now. I can do it in a day. But I spent so much time on that. I glued it together. I made it perfect. I learned how to love doing that. I took something that was absolutely going to the garbage. I repurposed it, and I gave it 20, 30, 40, 50 more years. And the signature of my brand, if you want to go, there's YouTube videos, and you can go on Facebook and find my brand, Burlywood. The signature of my brand is usually I burn things. I take old distressed wood and I repurpose it. I burn it. I try to get old things, not all the time, but I try to. I can't tell you how excited I am to take something that was going to go pollute the earth and repurpose it and put it in somebody's house for another 50 to 100 years or maybe longer. Because the metaphor is that I repurposed myself. I've been repurposed a couple of times, and sort of been talking about the lowest ebb, the lowest part of my life, and I have slowly out of the ashes, um, you know, and it's a different perspective from my friends that has millions of dollars. Does he really want to be a $500 a month traveling around? Well, to me, that is the absolute most successful that I can be. And the metaphor, like I said, is the story that I tell with repurposing things is it's kind of the same thing that I've done. Hopefully I've extended my life. I've given myself more purpose, a better life. Excited to get out of bed every day and do those things, and tying it all in together with a YouTube channel, showing people, my goodness, just because you're divorced, just because you had a heart attack, just because you lost everything, or just because you gave everything away, does not mean that your life is over. And in some cases, it could be the best part of your life is ahead. And it's a mind switch. And I hate that most of the time people have to lose everything to sort of get that. But in the old saying is, when you have nothing, you have nothing to lose. Yeah, maybe, but maybe you have everything to gain. And so that's the whole thing behind Burlywood and repurposing stuff. And I make things with my hands, which was important. And I create things. It is my art. It's how I express myself. It's also how I make my living. I sell things. My Etsy shop is soon to come. And like I said, I have people in Florida, North Carolina, Central Illinois, and Kentucky, and that will grow. They're helping me sell my stuff. So out of the ashes.
Yeah, interesting. Kind of that metaphor for your life, and just that interesting perspective. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that watch my show that I've got to assume are on the other end of this thinking, oh man, I've been there from a business standpoint where I started this thing and it all collapsed and you just feel helpless. And you're saying, man, out of that, you can actually move on and maybe even create something better. So that was kind of my leads into my next question. You got to be learning lots about yourself and how to survive and thrive and operate in kind of this confined space and on the road. So is there anything that you've learned through this experience that you think would speak to my audience that they might be able to take and apply to their life?
I do. I think once you can get the mind shift of What am I going to do? I'm divorced. What am I going to do? And you go, and it's a normal progression. You go through the grieving process, and what am I going to do? And I'm 30, 40, 50, 60 or whatever. You lose your business, you lose your job. My goodness, 40 million Americans filed for unemployment in this past, but you know, as soon as you say to yourself, and in some cases you have to get up. It's depressing. It's hard. You lose everything. If you can switch it and say, okay, not only is that not the worst thing that's ever happened to me, maybe, easy for me to say, right? Maybe that's the best thing that ever happened to you. Because now you never know what you can do until you have to. I didn't know how to freaking work on an RV. I never worked on a car in my life. I used to look down on the mechanics, and now I beg mechanics for 5 minutes of their time to show me what they're doing. This huge paramount shift from, I got to get $1 million. I want to retire. I want to go to the beach. As soon as you sort of strip that away, what society says, you have to have a nice car. You get that nice car, you're going to get a beautiful woman. If you love your kids, you're going to do Pampers, and you need white teeth, and you strip all of the things that everyone has ever told you for, in my case, 46 years, and said, okay, I don't care if anybody thinks that I have a great relationship on Facebook. Just take all of that and you just go, cool, I got to focus on me and right now and what I'm doing. And as soon as I sort of stripped all of that away, and I'll be honest with you, I was worried about what people were thinking about me, having been, a guy with businesses and whatever. I took my mind and I said, okay, so this is what I was doing. And just because now I don't have a choice, I'm going to go this way. Well, guess what? That way, or hell, that way could be the greatest experience of your life, life-changing. And honestly, I hate to keep saying it, but for next to nothing, you can change your life. And briefly, when I got into my van, my monthly bills were $3,000 a month. $3,000 a month. I got up every day and I didn't like my life. And now I make a fraction of that. Could not be more happier. So I think if there's one thing that I could give to your audience, and I really try to give to my audience, is that just because society tells you that you are less because you lost a spouse, or you lost a job, or you lost a business, or whatever that is, doesn't have to be true. You get to get up and decide what you're going to be. You get to decide on your destiny. This could be the greatest thing that ever happened to you. And once you get by the pain and all the other stuff, that's what my channel is about, is to take people from these awful, unfulfilling lives to travel 7 days a week, if that's what you want, for a fraction of the cost, live a better life, have better relationships, be in better shape. Your life is completely different. Just because I am not in the boardroom of Kinko's anymore does not mean that I'm not living my best life, because I absolutely am.
Yeah. I imagine you've sold just about everything to live in the RV. You're living more efficiently, I'm guessing, than you ever did. Anything you missed that you think, man, I wish I still had that? Or
yes, I do. I miss my workshop. I just going in and I'm this week I'm at my brother Todd's house. I'm making 40 things, and I love him, and I know he loves having me there. But I go in and I rush. I got to get back on the road. I don't have a place to store stuff. In my little 4-cylinder Toyota Sunland Express, I have 70 pieces of my business, all of my tools, everything that I need to live. And that's a really kind of a pain, but it is what it is. It's a small price to pay. But just having a place to go to create, but kind of the other side of that is that, I was just down at my daughter's and I made a whole bunch of stuff, and that was amazing. I had a new friend in Wilmington, North Carolina, going to West Virginia later this fall. I met a new friend, and she's like, hey, I got this, 40 acres on a lake, or on a river. I got a big barn. So, there's good and bad, but if I could somehow take my workshop with me, I would.
yeah. Eric, tell us again where people can find you.
You can find me on Facebook. My personal Facebook is Eric with a C, Hobaugh, Hobaugh. You can also find Chasing the Sun, just Chasing the Sun on Facebook. There's a group there called that. Tag me peeps if you want to join us and live a better life, eat better, have people that love you, support you, encourage you to do things. And of course, my big focus now, and probably for hopefully the rest of my life, it's called Chasing the Sun RV Life Van Living. And that's my YouTube channel. I encourage everybody to go there and to come along with me. I am learning how to be a filmmaker, and I'm enjoying that process. And, we hope to get to as many people as we can. We hope to help people live a better life, more fulfilled life with less. And that's going to be the focus of my life, hopefully, till the day I die.
Yeah, yeah. He is Eric Hobaugh, one-time corporate executive who essentially lost it all, rose out of the ashes. Now he's living full-time on the road in an RV. We'll make sure we get some of those links in the show notes. This is the Books You Read and the People You Meet podcast. Eric, thanks for joining us, and best of luck to you in all your travels.
Awesome, Mike. Thanks as always, buddy. Appreciate you. Thank you.